Hi, so I'm going to show you how to do a graphite print of a portrait. Okay, this is quite nice to kind of keep you within your comfort zone when you're drawing. So it's quite nice to get started. Obviously, those of you that have that want to have a go at drawing without using a graphite print, go for it. But this is something that you can do that is just good fun in general. So what I've got here is, sorry that it is a picture of myself, but if you're going to draw a self-portrait, you need to draw a picture of yourself. All right, so what we do is we print out a, it could be colour or black and white picture that you want to graphite print, and you turn it over. All right, so what we do first is we just use a pencil. Now, I'm using a 4B pencil. You can also use a graphite stick, which is a lot thicker. But because most people will have pencils at home, I will use a pencil. And all we're going to do is we just go over the entire of the background, sorry, the entire of the back of the picture. Okay, for this video, I hope you understand that I'm only going to do a very small section. All right, otherwise we will be here for quite some time. Okay, it's quite a nice thing to do. It's therapeutic when you're at home. Okay, so if we can imagine that I've gone over the entire background of, or the entire of the back of this picture. So I've got pencil all the way around the edge. All right, what I then do is I then flip it over. Now, I would suggest that at this point you tape your work to the piece of paper that you are going to be drawing on. All right, for this I'm not going to do that, mainly because I've only drawn or scribbled over a small section. What you then need is a pen. Okay, just a normal pen, preferably a biro, all right, or ballpoint pen, because you can press on a little bit harder. With a fine writer pen, you're also going to damage your nib quite a bit. And all you do is you work over the top, pressing on quite hard, but not so hard, and you just start outlining your portrait. Now, can you see here where the pupil is, the iris? Okay, I'm going to start shading into that, but where it's really dark, I'm going to press on really hard. Where it's a bit darker, take the pressure off. Okay. This is not something to be rushed. Okay, leaving out my white shadows, especially the highlights of my eye. Okay, start to get in a bit more shading. I can press on a little bit harder here. And what I'm going to do is just flip it up, look. Can you see it prints onto the page? So you've got proportions sorted out, kind of helps you get the shading of your face perfect. All right, it's just quite a nice little cheat. It's not something that I suggest that you do all the time. But if you're really, really struggling with how to draw a portrait, this is quite a nice way to get success, especially, you know, when you're drawing a portrait, you've got to think about proportion, you've got to think about shading, you've got to think about the equipment that you're using. That's quite a lot to think about. So if you want to have a go at doing it this way, then it does kind of help you out, because it makes you search for the shading in the face. Okay, so you can put in and you can work out where the eyelashes are, because as you're shading all of this, just make sure I'm still going on my pencil. Yep. As you're shading all of this, you are looking for all those shadows. So you're teaching yourself how to spot those shadows, which means that when you come to do a freehand portrait, you will find that you become more natural, because automatically you know where everything is. Okay, so you'll also notice here that my eyelashes, okay, they don't quite join the bottom of the eye, look. Okay, so as you're doing this task, you're learning about where the different facial features are, and where the different patterns are, where the different shades are. The key is to not press too hard. especially on the shading of the face. Now, this way, as a kid, I found it was one of the best ways to learn how to draw a portrait. Now, I can draw a freehand portrait quite a lot faster. Okay, whereas before it used to take me so long, okay, just to try and get everything in proportion, that by the time it came to me doing the shading, oh, I couldn't be bothered. I'd spent all my time and energy as a kid trying to get the proportion right. Okay, whereas this way, it taught me by myself where all the different shadows were, where all the different shadings were. Okay. Alright, so if we can imagine I've gone over all of that. Just put a bit more shading in here. Okay, and we have got on there a printed version of part of my face. Okay, so yeah, to be honest, it does take a bit of time and effort to kind of do that, to get the right shades in there, make sure you've got everything. So I would suggest that you do tape it to your page, because you can always come back to it if it's taped. All right, then what we do is using our cotton buds, okay, or our smudging tools, okay, whatever it is that you've got to hand at home, okay, and a pencil. So for this one, I'm just going to use a bog standard 2B pencil. Okay, and all I'm going to do now is go back to, okay, that drawing. And I know I've got a pen over the top of that. I would ordinarily print off too. And now what I do is I start to go into my sketch, and I start to perfect, okay, the shading. So there's nowhere that's untouched. Okay, so I'm still looking at my picture, because sometimes things don't always come through when you're doing it this way. Okay. But now I don't have to worry about, okay, getting everything perfect. I now just have to worry about trying to get my shading right, trying to replicate what it is that's on my page, trying to make that perfect. And you see I've missed out a bit of shading here. I'll show you how to work in that. And I can just keep building it up. Again, just constantly looking at what's in front of me. Getting in my eyelashes. Okay. Now that bit's a bit white underneath my eye, and I know for a fact that it's definitely not white, otherwise I'd have a very, very bright eye. So that's why your smudging tool or your cotton bud comes in really helpful at this point, because sometimes you don't even need to apply, you don't need to apply any more paper, okay? If your smudging tool has got a bit dirty, just sand it off. Normal sandpaper will work. It's like sharpening. Okay, so there we go. Let's try and do that a bit better this time. Alright, and what we can do now is use that smudging tool to kind of perfect the shading in my face. So where I said that I needed a bit more shading in underneath my eye, because the brightest part of my eye is the white, okay, I can add that in now. Okay, in here where I've got no shading above my eye, I can put that in with the smudging stick as well. Okay, and with the smudging stick, what's really nice is because it's better than a pencil, better than your finger, sorry, smudging with your finger, you've got a bit more control. What is quite nice, alright, is that you can kind of, it's a bit easier to kind of move the pencil, the graphite. It's a bit easier to move that around the page. Okay, so here's my eyebrow. So I'll just smudge that in for now. And get a bit more above the top. Okay. Now if I feel that I just need a touch more if I just need a touch more pencil on there, okay, shade it. Okay, just put a bit of pencil on the edge. You don't need to worry about doing it on the actual picture, not necessarily. Okay, so here I want a little bit more in my eyebrow, so I'll just keep adding it on. Okay, now, what I can do is I can get, because the eyebrow's got some marks in it, obviously it's got a bit of its hair, so what I can do is actually darken that a little bit more and create that texture. Okay, and if you feel that you've gone a bit too heavy, all right, just get rubber and just use the weight of the rubber just to start kind of working into your portrait. Okay, with your rubber, and start to kind of shape some of your cheeks in. Right, have a go at that. It's good fun, and it'll teach you how to do portraits freehand. All right, it's a learning tool. It's not a completed final tool. All right, we don't just kind of use this technique to draw portraits all of the time. This is just a simple learning tool to help you identify where all the bits of the shadows on the face are. I look forward to seeing what you create.